Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode in my brand new series, The Nicolas Cage-athon. I'll be reviewing every single Nicolas Cage movie that he's ever played in, not including voice acting roles or where he was a producer and didn't actually act. It doesn't mean only movies where he starred in. Cameo roles, supporting actor, etc. are valid. Now, after reviewing each one, I will be ranking them, so we will have a complete list of the best to the worst Nicolas Cage movies. Now, I will not be ranking them based on how good of a movie they are. I will be ranking them based on how good they show off Nicolas Cage's essence. In other words, if you've got a great movie and Nicolas Cage has a cameo appearance in it, and then you've got movie B that it's a terrible movie but Nicolas Cage has some great scenes, well, most likely movie B is going to rank above movie A because I'm focused on Nicolas Cage's pizzazz rather than the overall movie quality. I attempted to film this episode a few days ago so that I'd have time to edit it and get it out on YouTube on January 7th, which is Nicolas Cage's 60th birthday. I thought that'd be a great way to start. However, things did not go as planned. The randomizer that I'm using for this series included the movies where Cage only had a voice acting role or played only a producer role. And since I'm not reviewing those, it would mess up the sequence of movies that I'm supposed to watch. We're not going to go with that. So I had to go through and painstakingly remove all the non-qualifying ping pong balls, and now we have the list. There are approximately 102 Nicolas Cage movies that I will be reviewing. Each of those I have numbered and given a ping pong ball. Each episode I will retrieve 3 ping pong balls, and that will correspond to the 3 movies that I will be watching and reviewing for that particular episode. And that about does it, so let's get started. Episode 1. The first movie is number 77, which corresponds to The Runner. Movie 2 shall be The Cotton Club. Number 3 is Prisoners of the Ghostland. And we'll be right back after these messages.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Before I begin my review, let me state for the record that there is a scene in this movie that I still to this day do not know what Nicolas Cage said. After watching it the first time, I then rewound that specific scene and I watched it again. And then I rewound that scene and watched it again. And at this point, I've seen it about 5 times, and I still cannot tell you to this day what he said.
They're gonna think he knew the fisherman.
Terrence.
What?
The fisherman, his name is Terrence Hall. An NBC affiliate has footage of me speaking at his oyster company.
I don't have much to say about this movie besides the fact that it's pretty forgettable. It's not a bad movie per se, it's just not particularly compelling. It does get bonus points for Nicolas Cage sporting a pretty nice Louisiana accent, and also for having the audio track, at least for one scene, by John Lee Hooker. No, not John Lee Hooker. Dr. John, that's his name.
No.
Dr. John, okay. However, it did suffer from a rather blasé execution of its plot, and without spoilers, it did end on a rather unsatisfying and generic note. One critic review on Rotten Tomatoes caught my eye. Quote, "In spite of a promising premise and a roundly talented cast, The Runner is a disappointing outing to be viewed by only the staunchest of Nicolas Cage completists." And since The Runner is our first film, it ranks here. The Cotton Club, specifically the encore version, is what I watched, which is the expanded director's cut, which included some musical numbers that was not included in the original theatrical release. Unfortunately, Cage did not play a large part in this movie. He was more of a side character, and we did get some nice scenes with him, but nothing groundbreaking, nothing that really popped out to me. However, it did rank above the absolute beige fest that was The Runner, and so it will go above it. Then lastly, Prisoners of the Ghostland. This was a bizarre movie. Overacting, weird plot, bizarre exposition, had some interesting visuals and a decent performance by Cage, but it also had some fairly boring sequences during the first 2/3 of the movie. I'd say this movie doesn't pick up until the last third. In fact, I had just about given up that this movie would beat the Cotton Club. Cotton Club was a better shot movie. The Cage parts weren't as prominent as Prisoners of the Ghostland, but watching Prisoners of the Ghostland, I hadn't seen some great Cage moments. So I was thinking I was going to rank it below the Cotton Club. Up until halfway or 2/3 of the movie, I was thinking, well, this is a okay Cage performance, but I'm not seeing anything fantastic. It's probably going to rank below the Cotton Club. That is until we got to the ball bomb scene, the testicular TNT, if you will, the nuts of nitroglycerin.
Standing here with one arm and one testicle! Trying to reason with you, bitches!
Other head-scratching scenes include the Toyota Celica that apparently was in mint condition in this atomic wasteland, the bicycle scene with Nicolas Cage. We also saw a great line from Cage where he said, "I am radioactive." This film also really enjoyed the type sound effect. It became kind of annoying on the last part of the movie. It seemed to be playing just about in every cut of the camera. This film, like I said, was quite a trip, although it did suffer from not being entirely as coherent as what would be necessary to call it a great Cage film, or maybe even a good Cage film. I will say, though, that it beat the other two films that we've reviewed so far, so I would have to rank it the top of the 3 films we've reviewed in this series. And that about does it for this episode. We will see you next time on the Nicolas Cage-athon.